This one was sent on Twitter using the hashtag CornyDriveThru from Candle My Handle. Hi, Jim. Do you think Cody's refusal to go heel is because he wants to be the friendly face of the company and continue to do all the publicity for AEW and do quote-unquote real TV shows like the game show and reality TV, and being a dastardly heel doesn't lend itself to that?
Honestly, I don't know why he would, because I mean, it's not like that anybody else in that company or on that program besides MJF attempts to protect their wrestling persona in real life and out in the regular world. And Punk does, just because Punk is Punk. He doesn't have any. That's the brilliance about being a real person. You don't have any gimmick to protect necessarily. But so Cody could be a heel and still be on these television programs. It wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be optimal for a heel to be the jocular co-host or co-judge of a game show, or be a reality program or whatever. But it's not like any of these other guys, as I mentioned, bother to uphold their own various gimmicks. So I don't know why that would be the thing that would be. And also with other heels, you would be struggling to get the people to boo them anyway. And then they'd be over on the reality TV show contributing to charity, or on the game show giving mouth to mouth to a starving child or so. I don't fucking know, right? But in this case, there's no struggle to get the people to boo this guy because they're booing him out of the building. In a company where almost nobody gets booed except for MJF, and they're working with him for the most part. They're not working with Cody. They just don't like him. They want to boo him. So I don't know why that he's resistant to switching heel. Dusty was a heel early in his career, and he got, actually that was how he got over. He was a whatever level name Dusty Rhodes was in pro wrestling between 1969 and 1974. It was as a heel, whether the Outlaws, he and Murdoch working in Detroit, or in the AWA Chicago, or his run in Florida before they switched him babyface. That's how he got over, was as a heel. And then the famous angle, they switched him babyface, and he never switched back because he never really should have. Some people have said, he should have switched heel instead of the Road Warriors, and when Turner Broadcasting bought Crockett in 88. No, and at that point, the smart fans didn't like Dusty, but the Main Street America, Dusty Rhodes was still a magic name. So no, he never should have switched heel. But Cody, and that's that Dusty was getting booed in the TBS studio amongst especially the guys that got tired of him and became Horseman fans, and it's 100 people, and there are a lot of the same people every week. But in the buildings, no. Dusty was getting overwhelming cheers, and Cody is the opposite. So I don't know why he would not want to switch heel, because then like they've done with Roman Reigns, get it out of their system. They want to boo you, so let them. And then at some point, something may happen. Conditions may change to where, here's the perfect way to switch me back. And then they'll like it. But I'm answerless as to why you would just say, I don't want to be a heel. Sting did that in TNA when old Shitstain somehow booked Sting in the main event heel group, the main event Mafia. It was literally the main event heel group called the main event Mafia. And Sting was in it, but Shitstain convinced him that he wasn't a heel. He's just in the heel group with all the other heels. But he wasn't a heel. And then it was almost impossible to set up the matches. As an agent, I would be given, Sting versus this babyface. Well, Sting won't cheat. And he legitimately believed he was a babyface while in the heel group. He bought Russo's. One time I asked him, I said, explain this to me. He said, well, ask Vince. I said, God damn it. So he wouldn't cheat because he didn't want to be a heel. And then he had to beat the other baby faces clean. And they're sitting there going, what the fuck? He's going to beat me clean? Because this was back when business was actually done properly. So it was a clusterfuck. But I'm amazed at somebody who's being booed out of the buildings, but yet doesn't want to turn heel. At least go with the flow, justify your fucking response, and see how much more heat you can get from them. If you've done this without trying, maybe Cody can be the person to start getting fans to come back over the rail and actually get emotionally invested and want to pop the fucking heel. To bring their fucking pocket knife out, whatever. Maybe he's the guy. He's done everything he possibly can to fucking suck up to him to this point, and they can't stand the sight of him. If he applied himself to really pissing them off, I bet you he could start a riot.
And he would have a good time doing it, I think. And that's the same thing I would say about if Dusty turned heel, and you and I will disagree somewhat. And again, you were there, you heard the crowds. But I think those fans were ready to cheer for Ric Flair, which is one of the things that led into 89. I think Dusty turning heel and Flair going babyface. Next thing you know, you got Dusty with the Horsemen. That would have been great. I think Dusty turning and Flair turning at the same time would have made it work. They were ready to cheer Flair, and I know Flair was reluctant to turn.
If Crockett had not sold the company, there's maybe an ounce of a chance that might have happened. Dusty was not getting booed in the buildings by the rank and file fans when you went to the arenas and they bought a ticket and there was thousands of people there. It was ringsiders in Greensboro and, you know, people in the newsletters that existed at the time and the TBS studio. And but it still wasn't mainstream fans booing Dusty Rhodes. However, if they'd have switched Flair and, you know, then that would have opened up a spot on the other side. It could have been done. They probably would have had fun doing it, but not since Crockett had sold. Dusty was not going to switch himself heel while he thought he still had the booking job. Because
when do you think Dusty knew he was done? Because they're interviewing everyone. Of course, that's how Tully gets in trouble. We know part of the Crockett family wasn't very happy with Dusty. He does the Road Warrior angle, which is, in some sense, defiance.
It was the Road Warrior angle. It wasn't, you know, he had, as Booker, his job had been to get business back up for Crockett and be as strong as they could coming into the fall for the sale and also for his position. Because early 1988 Crockett Promotions was not, first quarter was horrible business. But then with the Great American Bashes, that summer, he loaded them up, dropped the cow, hot-shotted, but they came back, and everything drew pretty much, for example, we mentioned that not only Richmond drew well for the Bash, but then drew well the September show afterwards. We did 12 or 13,000 people with the Midnight and Tully and Arn angle and the Flair and Luger rematches. So the people came back for the Bash, and September was strong. And then the sale took effect. Was it October 31st or November 1st? One or the other.
I remember October, so that was what I was going to say.
I think it was October 31st the sale took effect. But anyway, he wanted the business to be as strong, not only so that, you know, Turner wanted the company, but also so they wanted to keep him as Booker. And I think he was convinced that things were going to fucking drop, especially when he saw some of the decisions that were, because let's face it, as soon as we saw some of the decisions they were making with the scheduling and the towns and the touring and the just all the changes they were starting to make, we'd, oh boy, this is going to be strange here. So he was probably doing something that he thought would be the hottest thing that he could do in turning the Road Warriors heel and then doing a heavy heat angle on TV And I bled more in the angle with the original Midnight. It wasn't the blood, it was the eye gouging and the warning that they had given him, and the fact that they didn't understand wrestling, and they thought, well, he's our booker, our matchmaker, our guy, and he's doing this stuff. And probably after some of the interviews, they didn't need too much convincing. They thought, well, we'll see what happens. And they thought it was easy to make a change. We'll just get another booker. And we see how that worked out. They never recovered from that.
Well, to be fair, if they had hired maybe, I don't know, the right person.
Well, no, I'm not saying if it had been the right person, but it wasn't that easy. It wasn't as easy as they thought. We'll just fire Dusty Rhodes and without even another booker coming in.
We'll make Jim Crockett Jr. the booker.
We'll let Jim Crockett be the booker for a month. Then we'll fucking hire George Scott because Larry Matuszak won't do it. And George Scott's an imbecile, so he'll last for 2 or 3 months, and then we'll have a committee. And so by that, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, no, I don't think that he saw that as suicide. I think I'm going to shoot this. It's going to be good, baby, and it's going to get a lot of stir, and, it's because I'm the Dream. But the people didn't want to boo the Road Warriors because not only we got the Midnight Express got more out of the double turn match than the Road Warriors did, because the people had kind of been wanting to cheer us since we got involved with the Horsemen. And then Tully and Arn quit and they left. So, we're still supposedly heels, but they kind of want to cheer us anyway. So when the Road Warriors come in and then we do the double turn match in New Orleans, Halloween night, and they beat us for the World Tag Team title, then the people just started cheering us the next week on television when they saw the way that we had been, pretty much screwed out of the belts and Bobby had fought valiantly and blah, blah, blah. They wanted to cheer us anyway. So now we're baby faces, but to Road Warriors, they didn't want to boo them. So then they, try to kill Dusty and they still didn't want to boo him. So that meant they just didn't want to fucking boo him.
Well, that's the other thing. If you're a longtime Road Warriors fan in 1988, what's the one thing you want more than anything? For them to be more of a badass team again. They kind of got punked out by the Powers of Pain. The idea they're just kicking ass again, it was like, oh, this is great. And then, everything happened.
Yeah. And then later the next year when we switched back heel, the Midnight Express, the people, they were like, but we wanted to see you because we had been beaten and fucking marginalized and minimalized. And they wanted to see us win shit and do shit again. So the heel turn backfired because it was like they were fighting. Finally, they're going to win again.